With this question, a table is given and we have to identify the ionic compounds from the above table. But you know that ionic compounds have high melting point and boiling point. They are generally poor conductor of electricity in solid state. One more time. They have high melting point and boiling point. They are poor conductor of electricity in the solid state, but conduct electricity in the aqueous or molten state, right? So look into this. If I look into the first one here, this cannot be, its melting point is low. So as of now, it cannot be an ionic compound. But when we look into the melting points of other two, you see they have high. But then what you have to remember that they are good conductor of electricity only in the aqueous state, right? And not in the solid state. One more time. Ionic compounds are poor conductors of electricity. It should be poor conductor of electricity in the solid form, but should conduct electricity in the liquid form. Now, why should I discard the option D here in spite of having high melting point? You can see high melting point, but you can see that it is showing good conductor of electricity in the solid state. It should not be good conductor because in solid state, no ionic compounds conduct electricity. And that's the reason the correct option should be B and C, and B and C is option A here, right? So we'll mark these to be the correct answer. The question here is that in human males, all chromosomes are perfectly paired except the one, and these unpaired chromosomes are what? Large chromosomes, small, and then what's that? Then this is what? Y chromosomes, X chromosomes, right? And the options are given below. So what we know that the human being have 23 pair of chromosomes, out of which 22 pair are perfectly paired, and the 23rd pair in case of male it is what? XY, and in case of female, the 23rd pair in case of female it is what? It is XX. So we can see that in case of male, neither the X nor the Y is perfectly paired. So in that case, the option will be third and fourth. So third and fourth is there in, yeah, option C is correct in this case. The question here is C4 plus does not exist, but PB4 plus exists, right? Although both belongs to the same group. Same group here, they mean to say that the group in periodic table. Now, these are the possible options given to us. This is size of the atom is much smaller than PB. Size of carbon is much smaller, and the large energy is needed. But first of all, let's understand why carbon cannot form C4 plus. As you know that carbon whose atomic number is how much? 6. So configuration is 2, 4. So in case if it loses 6 electron, then it will attain the inert gas configuration of helium, right? Yeah. And therefore, as you can see, the number of electrons here was 6, protons as 6 only. After losing electrons, it will have 2 electrons, and the number of protons remains same. So now it will become C4 plus, and by losing electrons, 4 electrons it is lost. But you should know that large amount of energy is needed to lose the electron. But the thing is that lead can do so, but why not carbon? This is because of the small size of carbon. You know that carbon, say this is the nucleus and this is the first shell of the nucleus, second shell of the nucleus. Let's say these are the electrons here. It has 2 electrons in the first cell and 4 electrons in the second cell. It is, in case of carbon, it is easier. It is difficult to lose 4 electrons because it's very close to the nucleus and it has a strong force of attraction by the nucleus. So it's difficult for the carbon to lose these 4 electrons. But in case of, if we talk about lead, the outermost shell is very far away from the nucleus. So therefore, the nucleus force is very less in, and therefore it is the force of attraction with the nucleus with these outermost electrons are less, so they can lose and much less energy is needed. So the correct answer should be what? The size of the atom, a carbon atom is small, and the large amount of energy is needed to, in case of carbon, than that of Pb. And that's why the correct option in this case is A, that is 1 and 2. In the next question, we are given three circuit diagram, and in the following circuits, what we are asked to find out the heat produced by the combination of resistors in a with a 12-volt battery. And the option says minimum in case 1, same in all case, maximum in case 3, and maximum in case 1. So what I suggest that we shouldn't go for this Ohm's law, that is, Joule's law of H is equal to I square RT, because in that case we have to calculate I. Instead, we can apply H is equal to V square by R, and ignoring T as the time is same here. Check here, V is same over here, right? V is same in all cases. So therefore, we can say that heat is inversely proportional to R. So smaller the heat, smaller the resistance, greater will be the heat. In this case, the resistance is 2 ohm. In this case, the resistance is how much? 2 plus 2, 4 ohm. And in this case, it's 1 by 2 because it's connected in parallel, right? And this is in series. So this is 1 by 2 plus 1 by 2 is what? Half. Let me show you. This is 1 by 2 plus 1 by 2 is equal to what? 1 and reciprocal of 1. So we'll say that resistance in this case is 1 ohm. So as I said, smaller the resistance, greater will be the heat produced in such a condition. And therefore, the maximum in case 3 is the correct answer. In this question, you can see a diagram is given here where the current is flowing through this conductor from Q to P. And we have to, in the first case, we have to find the direction of magnetic field produced by the point at R and at S. And second is given that R1 is greater than R2. Well, as you can see that this is based on the was that right hand thumb rule, also known as Maxwell's screw rule. So since the current is flowing in this direction, what you have to visualize is to imagine you're holding the conductor such that your thumb is pointing in the upward directions. The magnetic fields line produces what? Concentric circles. And here the direction, if you look into your rest of the fingers, right, you'll find that your rest of the fingers are coiled in this direction, right? So that means, if you make a concentric circles over here also and visualize that, if you see your rest of the fingers, you'll find that your fingers, right, are in this direction. So what you'll say that at point R, right, your magnetic field line is into the page. So magnetic field lines, you'll say that at point R it is into the page, and at point S it is out the page. That should be the answer for the first part here. Now, if I read the next one, the second part is what? The strength, the magnetic field at which point is greater. As you know that at point R and at S, the magnetic field strength is inversely proportional to the distance. So greater the distance, lower is the magnetic field produced. So greater strength will be at S and less will be at R. Now further it says if the polarity of the battery is reversed, that means the negative positives are reversed, what would be the direction of magnetic field? So now I can see that the direction of magnetic field, current is reversed. So I can now place it in the pointing downward. So you can, if you imagine holding the conductor so that your thumb is pointing in the downward direction, the magnetic field lines also will get reversed, right? You'll say that now it will be just opposite, right? It will be just opposite. That means it will be entering in this direction. If you make a magnetic field lines over here, you'll find that if you hold this, it should be what? It will come as clockwise at point this point, right? So if you hold it, you'll find that it is actually clockwise now. It is clockwise at this point and anti-clockwise at the other point. Now the rule is what is very clear. The rule here is, we say that right hand thumb rule. It says that if you hold the conductor in such a way that the thumb points to the direction of the current, then the fingers wrapped around indicates the direction of the magnetic field. These are indicating the direction of the magnetic field. In the next question, we are given three diagram here, and what we are asked here, that in this circuit, the heat produced by the combination of the resistor, right? And the options is minimum in A, same in all, maximum in 3, and maximum in 2. So in that case, we are going to find the current, sorry, heat. Now, you don't apply this H is equal to I square RT, as you can see that here R is not given. Instead, we can apply H is equal to V square over R. Now check here, in every case, the V is same here. So we can say over here that in this case, heat is inversely proportional to the resistance. So lower the resistance, higher will be the heat. So in case 1, the resistance is how much? 2 ohm. In case 2, as they are connected in series, so 2 plus 2 is what? 4 ohm. And in this case, they are connected in parallel. So 1 over R is equal to 1 over R1 plus 1 over R2. So that is half plus half. Let me show you what I mean to say. It should be 1 over 2 plus 1 over 2. So 1 over R is equal to 1, and reciprocal of 1 is 1. So in this case, the resistance is how much? 1 ohm. So as I said, smaller the resistance, greater the heat produced, and therefore the heat produced is maximum in case of 3. Maximum in case of 3 is this. Question here is that from the following group of animals, right? The question is, which is the most advantageous for human being in terms of energy? So you know that the shorter the food chain, the shorter the food chain, the greater is the energy derived. So we can say that we can make several food chain over here, but the one which is shortest will be what? From cereal plants to human being, right? So that means when cereal plants are eaten by human being, will derive the maximum energy. And that's the reason. Although the other food chain could be like this, that is from cereal plant to goat and then to human being. But you see, human being here is in the third trophic level. So we'll have lesser energy in comparison to this. That is the first. So we'll say that cereal plant to human is the shortest food chain. Just have to mark with an arrow over here. Now, there is one more question here is to make the food web. If I ask to make a food web from this, food web from it. So food web is what? It is the complex network of food chain. So this is what the food web will make here. As you know that cereal plants are eaten by rats, by human being, and by goat. Now, we further see that this cereal plants, this rat can be eaten by snake, and even a rat can be eaten directly by hawk. Now, the goat is also eaten by human being. Not in every human being, but there are in some parts of world, snakes are also eaten by human being. So this is what the complex network of food chain will make from the following organism. In this question, you can see that a graph is given over here, and this is what IV graph here, and we have to choose the one which represent ohmic conductor. So ohmic conductor is one that obeys the Ohm's law, and Ohm's law says that potential difference is directly proportional. So when you know that the slope of a graph in that case should be straight line, right, with some angle with the axis. So we'll say that definitely this is the only one which is indicating a straight line. Others are curve. So we'll discard the other options. This should be incorrect, incorrect, incorrect. Reason is because they are not obeying the Ohm's law. So A is the correct option in this case. In this question, we have to complete this flow chart over here. So I can see that the types of ecosystem is the first here. So what you can see that this ecosystems given here is terrestrial, and what is the other ecosystem? Aquatic ecosystem, right? That is sea, lake, oceans, and all. Then the components of ecosystem is what? Biotic, and the other is abiotic, right? Abiotic comprises of non-living component, and biotic is what? Abiotic is non-living, and biotic is what? Living. Then there is one more, that is fifth, where we have to write definition. So ecosystem is what? All biotic and abiotic components live in a particular area is called ecosystem. The next question is says that two triangular glass prism are kept connected through their rectangular side. Right, that's what the rectangular side. You know that the face of this face of the prism, this face I'm talking about, this face is rectangular, right? So they are connected along the rectangular face, as you can see, and a is light beam is passed, right? I forgot to write passed here, right? This is passed. So what happens after that? So you know that Isaac Newton, who was the first to split the light into seven component color, he further tried to split this spectrum into its other colors, right? He tried to split these colors further, but accidentally he found that on recombination of another, on placing another identical prism in inverted position, what he found that a white light comes out of it. So he formed the spectrum from the sunlight, and then he placed an inverted prism. So we'll say that the light, finally emergent light coming out from the second prism, will be a white light. The question here is to, we are given that human digestive system, that is a diagram for alimentary canal, and we have to match the following. The first one, which I can see over here, is what this is buccal cavity, and buccal cavity have salivary glands that releases saliva, and what saliva does? It breaks down fat into, starch into sugar. So we'll say that one is the initial phase of digestion. The next, as I see, it is what? Liver, and liver secretes bile juice. Bile juice, what bile juice does? It breaks down large fat globules into small. That means emulsification of fat, and emulsified fat is acted by the enzyme secreted by pancreas called lipase, which helps in the final digestion of the food. Now, the next is very confusing. As you can see, the third one is inside. The third one is inside the small intestine, and the fourth is just showing the small intestine. So in that case, I think the third one should indicate, the third here should indicate as the site for the complete digestion of food. Inside the small intestine is what complete digestion of food takes place, right? Like carbohydrate gets converted into glucose, protein into amino acids, and fat into fatty acids and glycerol. And if I look into the next, the last one here, and this is indicating outside, I mean, just pointing towards the small intestine. And we know that the length of the small intestine depends upon the food that an organism eat. What you know that in case of ruminants, that is grass eating animals, they have a longer small intestine than one which eat meat, or we say that, or carnivorous animals, because they they eat simple sugar, right, instead of starch, which is much simpler than cellulose, which is a complex sugar. So I think this should be the correct answer. The question here is why red color is used as stopping light at traffic signal. So all danger signals are marked red, and this is due to the scattering effect. What we know that the light which is scattered, right? The light which is scattered depends upon the wavelength. That means it is inversely proportional. The scattering is inversely proportional to wavelength. So higher the wavelength, lower will be the scattering. Since red color has the longest wavelength, it has longest wavelength, and because of which it is least scattered. That's why we use danger signal. For example, if I talk about a red light coming from a large distance, say white light, right? Let's take a white light, assume this to be a white light. I should select white. Consider this to be white light. So whenever the rays of light coming from here, the light of smaller wavelength will get scattered over here. Maybe the green also will get scattered on its way, but the one which has the longest wavelength can reach our eye, and that's the reason why we can see it even on foggy days. And that's why we consider, we use, not consider, we use red for the danger signal. The diagram here is what? The electrolysis of water. So we know that distilled water, which is also known as the purest form of water, does not conduct electricity. But how does electrolysis therefore takes place over here? That means, how does electrolysis, that means splitting of water into hydrogen and oxygen. So the thing is that we add few drops of H2SO4, could be HCl also. In general, H2SO4, 2 to 3 drops of H2SO4 is added. And the reason for this is to, as you know that, why? Because pure water is a poor conductor of electricity and it does not conduct electricity. Well, answers are same only. Pure water is a poor conductor of electricity, does not conduct electricity. And that is the reason here it should be the water only. And that is the reason why small amount of H2SO4 is added to make the water conducting.